What is up, you guys? Welcome back to the Oreaganic podcast. I'm your host, Reagan. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about more post-grad experience. I did an episode about the classic post-grad despair era as one of the first 3 episodes that I launched because it's such a pivotal topic for me to talk about. It's the first thing I ever talked about on a public-facing platform online. And honestly, I'm just feeling like so many of us going through this post-grad adulthood, whether you're 1 or 2 years out of college or even further along, I feel like any phase of adulthood, does anyone really have it all together? No, but especially to early post-grads, we are in a very unique situation where it's we're trying to figure out so much of life at once, and so much changes so fast after college, but we all just act like it's normal to go from the life we were just living, even if you didn't go to college, high school into adulthood. It's so weird to go from school and that being your life up until the point of adulthood and then just transitioning to full-time work or whatever. Most of us feel this societal pressure to follow a mainstream path and do the safe option, but simultaneously we're hearing advice from 1,000 different sides and the internet and people in our lives and whatever being go explore the world, don't waste your 20s, do things, whatever. And then the other side is a bunch of people being don't be stupid, get a job, invest in a trust fund immediately, and fucking work 72 hours in a day and go into crypto and what the fuck's going on? I feel like all of us are just what? What? I don't know which way to go. I don't know who to listen to. What is going on? And I have a very strong conviction to not follow this any mainstream path. I am all for each of us creating our own unique individual paths that actually bring us unique fulfillment and alignment to the person and the life that we want to be living, the person we want to be, the lifestyle we want to live, whatever, because that's how it's supposed to be. We're all different individuals for a reason, and we're also a new generation with new ideas and new thoughts and innovative ways of thinking for a reason. We don't have to just live by the same structures that were given to us just because that's just how it is right now. We have so much power to change things, and it all starts with each of us as individuals. So the intention for this episode is kind of just feel like a little chat, a little community get together, even though it's just me talking to a mic right now, but you get the visual where all of us are going through the same period. We're all kind of what the fuck? And I have some thoughts that I'm really convicted on that I wish I could kind of say to every postgrad, especially someone who's just out of college and really feeling confused. I have a lot of advice to give. I have a lot of insights. I have a lot of perspective, and I'm very passionate about following the best path for you, not the best path based on what someone else says. So I hope this episode is helpful. I hope it makes you feel a little bit less alone, and we can all just remember that we are unified in this world by the fact that no one really knows what the fuck is going on. So let's get into the episode. Welcome to the Oreaganic podcast. I'm your host, Reagan, mechanical engineer, lifelong athlete, and recovered overachiever, here to empower you to pursue your highest potential and live freely as your happiest, most organic self. Every week, we'll dive into topics ranging from personal growth, mindset hacks, psychology, and a blend of science and spirituality to give you all the tools you need to stop living on autopilot and start creating a life of freedom, meaning, and fulfillment as your most organic self. If you're ready to become the best version of yourself, then let's plant those seeds and grow. So in the post-grad world, I do still, in fact, go to the gym. Maybe once a week at this point, because I don't know about you guys, but after work, the 5 to 9, after the 9 to 5, I try to be really intentional with that time. I try to treat it as sacred. I try to not just doom scroll or do things that don't really feel like an actual good use of my time. But sometimes, you know what, you need a bit of a doom scroll. You need some time to yourself. You need just a chill night. And I don't know, the time after work just feels like this sacred capsule that will evaporate at rapid pace unless you actually put careful thought and attention into what you're doing after work. I don't know if anyone else feels like that, but I find that if you kind of just don't really set the intention to go to the gym at the end of the day before it's the end of the day, it just doesn't happen. Or if it does happen, it happens 2 hours after you eat dinner, and then it's late and you get home and you gotta shower and then go to bed. I don't know, whatever. Maybe I'm alone in this experience. I doubt that I am. But anywho, I was at the gym this week. I was stretching on the turf, and someone I know from way back in the day, went to school with him, he started walking over to me, and I've seen him at the gym before. He's like someone you see the people at the gym, like, you see regularly. He was one of those people. And he came up to me, he started coming over to me, he started taking out his headphones, so I was like, oh shit, he's actually about to, like, say something. And basically he just said really kind words about, you know, how he admires me posting. He, like, really respects it because, like, you know, I've still kept up with it. Everything I post really resonates. Like, and the part that got to me that he said was that he feels like a lot of people our age, like, are wanting to pave their own path or wanting to carve their own experience of life for themselves, but there's just so much resistance to it. And, like, he basically really respected the fact that I was actually doing it, which, first off, was incredible to hear, just, like, from my perspective, because honestly, guys, a lot of the times that I post, especially lately, I've been like, does anyone actually give a fuck about like, why am I doing this? Like, no one's listening. No one cares if I post 5 story slides of me fucking yapping myself away. Like, no one's actually watching. They're all annoyed by it or clicking past it or just, like, swiping and scroll, whatever. Like, not healthy thoughts to have, not productive thoughts for my actual growth. But on the other side of that was, it made me realize, like, oh my God, there actually are a lot of people around my age, around our age, who are just like, I hate the thought of people knowing that the life they're living could be better or that they want to do something different, but they're just held back by the fear, and they're held back by being scared of what will happen, of what people will think, of going against the grain with things. Like, I just really hope that I can help people like that understand that the most powerful thing you can do for yourself is to go against the grain, is to do what you're scared of. And I'm not saying this as someone who's fucking Alex Hormozy or Tony Robbins, who has made millions of dollars to my name. Like, everything I've done and posted has been very much, like, slowly building up from the ground and, like, consistency over time and learning as I go and blah, 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 blah. But I didn't quit my job and completely go all into this. Like, I'm in such a weird perspective or weird situation because it's like all the posting that I've had has been it's been like a parallel to my also professional growth on top of, like, a normal job. I'm not someone who just threw everything away, burned it all to the ground to, like, go full in on, like, a business or something like that. I think you're getting the picture. And still, I feel like I have a very good perspective on, like, what it actually feels like to do things that scare you, to do things that are uncomfortable, and the payoff that it can have, and kind of just the idea of anyone knowing that they could be doing more, but they're being held back by fear. Like, I don't know why, I picture them, and I picture their future selves, like, when they're 30, 40, 50, or maybe even, like, way down the line when they're older. I picture them looking back at themselves at this age, at the age we're at right now, being like, why the fuck did I not start sooner? Why didn't I just do it? Why did I not care less? I run from this program of, it's like my biggest fear is having regrets. And that sounds very cliche. It sounds very like, YOLO, no regrets, like, just live your life. But literally from a fundamental, like, soul principle, like, soulful expression of yourself and living as your most organic self, like I talk about, being authentic, like, living a life of pure value that you came here to live. Because, like, none of us are existing here just to be miserable and settle for a watered down version of life just because we're like, oh, we have to. And I feel like we really come face to face with this when we hit the post-grad world, because we're like, oh shit, now I have the most freedom that I've ever had. And at the same time, having the most freedom I've ever had means I have the most free will to choose what to do. But I also have so much pressure from my parents, from society, from my friends, from, like, my own internal judgments of what I should do or what I, like, the right thing to be doing right now. And the quote-unquote right thing to do, or the mold of society, is often probably not exactly the same as what your soul truly desires doing. And when I say your soul, it does not have to be this, like, spiritual woo-woo thing. Like, I hope we all can agree that we all have a soul. And your soul exists beyond a human plane. Like, you don't, I just feel like this is very factual stuff. Even just going by, like, even if you want to ignore religion, whatever, like, going by principles of physics, if energy cannot be created nor destroyed, your soul is a form of energy. Like, that is, like, your essence channeling through you. That is your soul, right? Like, are we all on the same page here? And if that's the case, and it's also the case that the universe is so large that it's literally unfathomable to the human mind how big it is, like, there's a better chance that there's way more outside of the scope of what we know and understand than us knowing and understanding everything from, like, our physical 3D, I just said physical twice, our physical 3D perspective. So, from that perspective, our souls, like, guide us through our desires, through the things we are called to, through the things we want to do. And we are most embodied in, like, our soul's purpose when we're living most authentically as ourselves, not feeling pressure or listening to the pressure to subscribe to what any other system or structure, which is probably a little bit outdated, says about what the quote-unquote right thing to do is. Is everyone following? Are you guys tracking? So when I say your soul's desires and your soul's, like, best expression or version of life, please don't take it as this spiritual woo-woo, like, way out there thing. So that's my thought on that. But anyways, all of us get into postgrad and we're faced with these two options of, like, follow the mainstream, or it doesn't even have to be drastic, but, like, part of you might want to just do something a little different, or try something new, or maybe move to a different place, or do anything outside of the very strict physical structured norm of society and what's expected of us. And we're going to feel resistance because we don't want to be the odd one out. We don't want to be the weird person doing their own thing. We don't want to upset the people close to us or make them think that we're not safe if we decide to do something like, I don't know, moving across the country, or, like, not working for the first year and going backpacking in Europe or something. You know what I mean? Like, some people truly do have the desire to not just immediately sit themselves at a desk indoors for 40 hours a week out of school if they're just going to do that for quote-unquote the rest of their lives. Like, I don't understand how that is something to be ashamed of. Nor is this podcast. The goal is not to say, go backpack in Europe for a year and go crazy and, like, do whatever you want. More the message is to listen more to your own truth than what anyone or anything else tells you outside of yourself. You know what I mean? Not from a place of being dumb. Like, to be straight up, like, don't be dumb. Don't make stupid decisions that, like, you know don't serve you. Still live your life from a place of, like, a good heart and a good intention, but follow your most pure desires instead of feeling like you have to just shove yourself into a box. Another point I wanted to bring up is, guys, we are so powerful as a generation. Our age group of, like, the early postgrads, like, early 20s era, or even, like, mid-late 20s, whatever, but, like, our age group specifically, we have so much power and potential to make legitimate, genuine, positive change in the world. And I don't know if you guys realize the state of the world, but, like, the world kind of fucking needs it. Like, there are so many structures and systems and, like, ways of thinking that are just quote-unquote mainstream in society that we need to get the fuck rid of. I'm sorry. Like, I said this in the intro, but I've never, ever been someone to just be like, oh yeah, so if someone were to say, like, well, everyone has to do this thing this way because that's just the way it is. No part of me has ever been like, oh yeah, that makes complete sense. Let's all just do it like that and never question. Like, I am very much someone who questions and thinks about things because there is nothing I hate more than there being no legitimate, logical, reasonable explanation for why something is the way it is, just besides that exact thing of, like, that's just the way it is because that's the way it is. That makes absolutely no sense to me. And I think that is an outdated belief that runs a lot of structures in society that influence, like, a good chunk of our lives, whether it's, like, the ways that we work, or, like, the flexibility that we have, or the things we prioritize, and, like, what's actually important, or even things about our health and what's in our food, or food ingredients, whatever. Like, there are so many things that should be changed, that can be changed, so that we can live better lives as individuals existing in society that not a lot of people, I feel like we just don't realize how much power we actually have. Like, there's something to be said about the fact that we are a whole new generation coming into this world of full-on adulthood and taxes and whatever the frick, that we have a fresh perspective. And this fresh perspective can help heal the world. It can help make the change that we need to make. And I'm not saying we need to all go into government and, like, do all this crazy shit, because I sure as fucking hell, if I ever went into the government, guys, I have been body snatched, and, like, you need to not listen to a word that I'm saying, because no part of me has any interest in ever being in the government, respectfully. But all that to say, the way that we actually impact the world and our society and make change starts with just the individual, ourselves, how we live our lives, like the values that we carry, the priorities that we have. I mean, think about areas in society where it's like, where do you feel like something's missing? And honestly, I feel like a big part of that, which might make some people go, oh my God, is religion. But let me just say, I am not someone who forces religion on people, who, like, is extremely set in my ways. I have very malleable thoughts when it comes to, like, broader deviations of the general overarching idea of religion. But just believing in any type of higher power gives you a sense of grounding and connection to something bigger than yourself that allows you to trust so much more in how your life is working out, and, like, trust that everything happens for a reason. Whereas if you don't believe in a higher power, or don't ever really think to kind of, I don't know, you don't even have to connect or do, like, crazy meditating or praying or whatever, but, like, when you're living and operating across, like, away from any type of belief in something outside of yourself, you are isolating yourself so much, and you are taking on so much more than you need to, like, so many more burdens of, like, why do things happen this way? Like, I have to make sure everything's working out for me, or else, it's like you think you have to do so much more than you actually do. Like, you have so much more peace when you actually trust that, like, everything is working out for you exactly as it should. Like, God or whoever you believe in has a hand over your life and is guiding you, and you're grounded in, like, your higher purpose, because you know that you have greater impact to serve on this planet, and like you live through the essence of God, or, like, God's essence lives through you and your purpose and how you impact the world and how you serve others. Like, I don't know, I feel like we have lost touch with any kind of just, like, belief in something higher than ourselves, and that it's such a huge thing. It's so grounding. And I'm not someone who's, like, in church at 9 a.m. every single week. Like, I'm not someone who is going sicko mode, like, going to Bible studies every single week or anything like that. If anything, I feel like if you were to actually talk to me about religions, or, like, bring up other perspectives, like, I'm also not someone to ever be like, just because I believe in Christianity, that doesn't mean that any other religion is, like, completely wrong or all false. I feel like I've heard this a lot, where it's like atheists believe it's the placebo theory, like, Christians believe in God, or, like, I don't know, it's like all of us, all forms of religion, and even if you want to talk about atheists, whatever, but, like, all forms of religion and science and physics, we all are in agreement that, like, there's something bigger than us, outside of us, that, like, we don't fully understand, but we know it's there. And I feel like all these different religions are just saying the same kind of thing in different ways through different lenses. And obviously there is a lot of nuance to that. Like, this is a whole topic that could have its whole own podcast. And I feel like I don't know why it's a sensitive subject, though. I think it's a sensitive subject because people feel this pressure from religion of, like, too much structure, or, like, outdated ways of thinking, or just, I don't know. I feel like a lot of negative assumptions are made about religion, whether it's Christianity or, like, any other religion. But more the point I want to make is, I don't really care what you believe in, because each of us are our own individuals. But I do think it's really important going into adulthood, like, to establish good fundamental values, like having a higher guidance in place that comes from a place of unconditional love and wanting to serve the world by being like your most authentic self and bringing in like your uniqueness to help heal this world just by being yourself. I feel like that is a huge value that imagine if every single person our age in the post-grad world was doing that, was like leading through having trust in some form of higher power, whatever that may be for them, and just like knowing and having this deep connection and sense of trust and like internal guidance, knowing that they are guided by a force that is bigger than themselves. I feel like that would help so many people just feel less stuck, feel less like they're alone, they have to figure everything out by themselves. Like, yes, we are alone in the sense of like we only have our own individual minds to think through things, but we absolutely are guided by this higher power. We are guided by like the forces that be beyond the physical realm, that come from love, that come from unconditional love. Like, we are guided by that. Your soul guides you through the desires that you have and like the ways that you are being called to show up in life and just be yourself. Like that has such a huge, profound impact on the world that literally cannot be measured. And I feel like it really relates to finding a sense of purpose and fulfillment in life, because that is exactly the key to finding the fulfillment, is to like foster this internal sense of connection with your soul and with desires and like what you want in life to actually show up as your most authentic self, your most organic self, and like to show up like that. That's how you live a life that feels easy and in flow and free. But you don't get there. It's a lot harder to get there, both without belief that like there's some higher force that is positively influencing your life and like a guiding hand in like creating a good life for yourself and things working out, versus just thinking that you have to do everything on your own and that like the world's just a horrible place and God isn't real and there's no higher power and we're all just stuck here alone like floating on a rock. I don't know. I know, so like I'm so convicted in the fact that like that's not true. Like I don't need to prove that to anyone, because I just know like I'm not going to try to convince people to change their whole worldviews. But if any part of this resonates and you feel like, I don't know, I just feel like it's such an important thing, such an important value to place trust in a higher power and to like lead a good life through basic values like that, of like unconditional love, being a kind person, being yourself, taking chances, like taking risks and like standing up for other people. I don't know. There's a lot of goodness that comes from that. And I feel like that's something that is getting lost with a lot of people who might be around our age or a little older, a little younger, whatever. And it has a massively profound impact on your life. It really does. And I think that that's a way that we can make the world a lot better of a place, is starting individually with that perspective. I was really not expecting to talk about that at all. Like, that was completely unplanned, but I guess it just came up. So here we are. But another thing for post-grad advice that, like, I wish we could just talk about, like, guys, I'm going to make a post-grad community. It's going to be, like, a Discord or something. I'm not even kidding. Like, this is going to turn into some massive thing at some point, because we are all craving some community aspect. We are craving other, like, we, especially if you went to college or even just high school, like, you know how it is to, there's something that just can't be explained being in a group of people your age in the same classes or the same kind of campus, going through the same things, but in so many different ways. Like, the sense of community that you have with that is so pure. It is like one of the best parts of existing. It really is, to just have that kind of community and camaraderie that's just unspoken. Like, being part of a bigger group like that, it is huge. It is so huge. And I talked about this in the first episode, like the importance of finding community for yourself in the post-grad world, because it is like one of the most fundamental things that made college or high school so fun in the first place and so fulfilling and like nourishing to the soul, because as humans, we're made to be in communities. We're made to talk to other people. We're made to like be in tribes. But especially when we get into the post-grad world, away from all our friends, away from living like with your best friends or right next to them or just always around people, we get away from that. We're so isolated. Everyone's just working their own jobs and they feel like, oh, okay, well, this is just the rest of my life. Never, ever fucking have that perspective. If you have that thought right now, I need you to delete that code from your head. If you think you're working a job right now that you're like about, or like you don't really love, and maybe you want to try something different, but like maybe that requires XYZ thing that you think is too much, or going to take too much time and whatever, therefore you're just going to be stuck exactly where you are. You need to cut that shit out right now. Like, I'm saying this so lovingly, you need to fucking cut the shit, because that is so far from the truth that you're just stuck and this is just the rest of your life. If you're living in a way that doesn't feel super aligned for you, like, that is not the rest of your life. That does not have to be the rest of your life. Like, you don't have to be alone and isolated and like low-key miserable, but kind of just suffering through it because you're comfortable enough. Like, that does not have to be your life. The only reason that you are living the life that you are living right now, whatever that may look like, is because you are accepting those standards for yourself and you are comfortable enough to not change it. Like, the only time that we actually create change in our lives is when the pain of staying the same outweighs the pain of the discomfort, in most cases. Obviously, you can intentionally choose to change your life knowing that it's more comfortable to stay where you are and more painful to change if you are like so vindicated in the fact that you know you want change for yourself and progress. But a lot of us will just run on this program of like being just comfortable enough to just stay where we are and just be fine with it, when we know I'm telling you, your fucking soul knows, like, you know deeply you're meant for more, you're meant for bigger things, or like this is not where you're supposed to be. Oh my god, guys, you cannot just stay comfortable like that. You can't just stay comfortable if you are miserable, because again, back to the regret point, ask yourself, what are you going to be thinking 20, 30 years from now? What are you going to be thinking to yourself? If you had the perspective that you did when you were 20 or 30 years older, right now, at this moment, what would you be saying to yourself? That is, like, that perspective in itself is just like, oh my god, it's honestly a motivating factor for, like, why I've started to do the things that I've done on social media, why I decided to completely change career fields, like 4 months out of college, why I was unemployed for 3 months. Like, there are so many things that were influenced both by my present self and being uncomfortable in the situation that I was in. Like I talked about before, the pain of staying the same was greater than the pain of changing for me, like last year. But I went through so much of that also because, like, I know I, like, would, if I had to just suck it up and stick with these conditions and just tell myself, like, oh, it's fine enough, like, oh my god, I would be miserable. I'd be miserable. Guys, life is way too fucking precious for us to just accept this idea of, like, living just a standard version of life that you, when you know for a fact that, like, this isn't exactly what you want it to look like, and you could probably live a little bit happier or more fulfilled, or like try new things, or just go out of your comfort zone a bit, but you would have to be uncomfortable, or you'd have to do something that goes against the grain. The whole point, if there's anything you take away from this episode, go against the fucking grain. Like, do not be scared to go against the grain. What the fuck are you waiting for? There's nothing to wait for. Like, it's never gonna feel easier. I think I listened to this comedy podcast called Camp Counselors, and one of the guys, Zachariah, he just started doing shows, like live shows, I think maybe like a year and a half ago, maybe even 2 years ago, I don't know, but he talked about on the podcast how, like, it's like when you are about to do a cliff jump or something like that, like, the water's not getting any warmer. The water's gonna be cold. Like, you don't want to jump because the water's cold and it's really high or whatever, but, like, guess what? If you sat at that cliff for 10 years, like, the water's not gonna get any warmer. It's not. Like, it's always gonna be uncomfortable, especially the first step. Like, obviously that's the most uncomfortable part, but you just gotta jump at some point. And I know it's cliche. I know a million people will tell you this shit, but hopefully my opinion resonates a little bit more deeply than other NPCs online, because I am telling you this as someone who is not even 2 years out of postgrad, guys. Like, I've fucking been there. I have been there. As someone who was like, shit, I want to post on social media. I want to talk about the shit that I've learned. Like, this is not how we should be living. We shouldn't just be accepting the conditions of society because that's just how it is. Like, it's just normal for people to be, like, low-key miserable and eating all of these foods that have a bunch of toxins in them that none of us know about, or constantly people-pleasing and being disconnected from ourselves and operating from, like, a wounded perspective from our childhood selves in, like, every single situation of life that makes us feel like situations that are not ideal are actually more ideal than what would actually be ideal for us because it's our comfort zone. Like, okay, that was a ramble. But I was there where I was like, I want to talk about this stuff. There's so much I have to share with the world. There's so much that I want to share and do. And I waited on it for so long. I guess it wasn't that long, but, like, I waited on it for months. I had wanted to start a YouTube channel for, like, forever, but I didn't start it until I got uncomfortable enough in my post-grad despair unemployment era to make that video. And, you know, conditions might look different for you. Like, you could be happy in your job. You could be having a great life. That is all that matters, is for you to be happy. And I come in just to say that I want everyone to be living their happiest life at the maximum degree to which they can be living a happy life. Like, I don't want anyone to look back and be like, oh, I wonder how things could have been if I did XYZ, or if I did this sooner, if I took this leap, or if I decided to do this, or if I stopped caring so much about that. Like, anything where you feel convicted in your soul, or, like, a little nudge to do something, or to act on something, or to maybe be more vulnerable, or seen in a different way, or try something new, like, you need to follow that. You need to follow your heart-led desires over whatever fucking structures we've just been spit into as part of the system because we think that it's safer to follow those. Let me tell you something. Your desires, your heart, your soul, like, desires that come from a very internal, soulful place, not desires to just, like, I want to eat a whole bag of chips, or, like, I want to do XYZ thing that, like, come from a very human ego perspective. Like, soulful, deeper desires, those nudges are never going to lead you somewhere that is worse than where you are right now. And we can talk about intuition and building the relationship with yourself and, like, your internal guidance and your voice and everything. But let me just say, if you're feeling a nudge, and, like, you will know, like, this will resonate, my words will resonate if you are someone who knows what I'm talking about. If you're feeling a nudge to do something or make a change in your life, and you know it comes from a pure place from your soul, and, like, part of you really wants to do it, but immediately you're run up with thoughts of, like, fear, of worrying, of coming up with reasons why not to, that thing, whatever you're worried about, is the thing that's going to grow you the most. And it's actually going to get you living a life way better than what you could ever be living if you just accept things as they are and just distract yourself with, like, miscellaneous things to just be getting by with a comfortable life. Because a comfortable life, yes, is nice. All of us want to be living a comfortable life, and I want you to be living a comfortable life also knowing that you are experiencing life to the absolute maximum potential that you possibly could be with your own potential, like, as a person, to give all of, like, your soul's essence to this life to create a beautiful world for yourself that you know you can have, a beautiful life. Like, that is the form of happiness I want you to have. No watering down, no, like, oh, it's good enough, like, it's fine enough, like, I don't care that much, like, no. Your most organic self lives as exactly that, your most organic self, authentic, aligned, listens to your heart before listening to what society says we should do, or your parents, or your grandma, or whatever. Like, your internal knowing is the most important voice that you should be listening to. And as I said, take it with context. I'm not saying if you are, I don't know, like, addicted to some bad habit or whatever, and that's like, oh, that's what my body's saying I want to do right now. Like, guys, you know what I mean. I think you get what I'm talking about here. That is not what I mean. When it comes from a soulful place, when you are being guided into something and you're feeling a nudge but you're scared of it, like, it's for a reason. And you need to do it. I guess this became a whole 35-minute episode about, like, personal development and post-grad stuff, which I didn't really mean for it to be, but I mean, I guess that's why I started my whole posting and page and everything, is, like, there is so much good that can come from the post-grad world if we just put intentional care into like the life that we create for ourselves. There is so much more that I could go into, but I'm going to leave this episode exactly where it's at. Postgrads, I hope this gave you some new perspectives, some maybe fire under your ass a little bit to kind of just kickstart you into living the best life that you're supposed to be living here. Like, go be your most organic selves. I mean that legitimately. It's not just a tagline. But seriously, I also don't mean this in a way of like, I am an almighty high lord, I'm High Lady of the Night Court, and I'm here to tell you how to live your life. Like, I truly say this from a place of soulful conviction and the fact that, like, I truly want everyone to be living, like, their best version of life that they possibly can. And I hope this episode gave you some ideas for how you can maybe do that. So, with that said, go be your most organic selves, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you so much for tuning into the podcast. If you got something out of today's episode, I would so deeply appreciate if you left a rating and or a review of the show on either Apple or Spotify to help put this podcast in more people's ears. Follow along with me on my socials, which are tagged below, and I will see you in the next one.